Well, they waited until after the election to do it, but California Democrat politicians just increased your cost of living, raising the state's gas tax to effectively $2 per gallon starting in 2026. Coming up, we'll tell you all about the scam that they just crammed through, what it's going to cost you, and how we're fighting back. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and we warned you that this was going to happen before the election, but of course, California's liberal media covered it up. They didn't want voters to know as they were going to the polls in California, the Democrats were plotting to take more of your money, to increase your cost of living, and to hurt the working families the hardest in California. On Friday, late Friday, at 10 o'clock at night Friday, the California Air Resources Board, an unelected group of bureaucrats appointed and accountable to Gavin Newsom, enacted sweeping regulations that will increase the cost of gas in California by an additional 65 cents a gallon starting in 2026. And that is the lowball estimate of the impact to the policy that was enacted. We warned you that this was going to happen. We said, look, they're going to try to increase the state gas tax. They're going to do it through this unelected board. It's going to happen just days after the election. Literally 3 days after the election, these asshats go ahead and enact a major cost spike for all Californians. The liberal media downplayed it. For weeks, we were banging the drum saying, this is important. People need to know. Elections have consequences. Send a message. Boot these assholes out. But no, the media did not want to cover what I felt was one of the biggest stories during our election. That while they were out there saying, we're going to go after oil and gas companies for spiking and price gouging, it was Gavin Newsom who was inflicting pain, who had a plot, a scheme to get more of your money. And that's what they've been doing on every single element of your household budget, okay? Every single reason why California's cost of living is higher is directly traced to the liberal tax and spend policies of our Democrat supermajority here in California, led by Governor Gavin Newsom. Here is the Associated Press story. California air regulators approved changes to climate program that could raise gas prices. It could happen. Bitch, please. It's definitely going to spike your gas prices. What do you think? There's some money fairy in the backyard that farts out $100 bills to pay for all these absurd ideas? We are literally bankrupting families. We are crushing the cost of living for families in this state. We are crushing them with this high cost of living, all because Democrats think that we can control the climate. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole discussion of climate change, but for the moment, set that aside and ask yourself, do you really think that human beings can control the climate? I believe human beings impact the climate. Hey, we're in an ecosystem. I don't deny science. But do you think we can actually control the climate? Oh, and do you think that we can control the climate by putting you out of work or increasing your cost of living by a factor of $2,500, $5,000, $7,500, $10,000 for the typical family? And by the way, those numbers are real. The gas tax, in a moment, I'll just share with you, the gas tax alone is roughly $2,500 per household that we just saw increased. So let's go through what they have proposed. California Globe, which does great work on California news and politics, they've got the story. Crazies in climate land vote to increase California gas prices by 65 cents per gallon. So let me read you some of the quotes from the Air Resources Board in enacting this massive gas tax increase, because you need to know what is actually, we'll get to the numbers in just a minute. They will say, these funds will be returned to the local community to finance projects aimed at reducing air pollution exposure, mitigating air pollution impacts, and improving public health in areas surrounding refineries. Okay, so let me just explain what this nonsense is all about, because it's a lie. This is nothing but their corrupt cover-up. What they're saying is Trust them with more of your money. Give them your money, and they will then give you back some of your money. That's what they're saying here. That is exactly what they're saying here. But the money's for the children. Well, first of all, you don't give a rip about children. If you did, you would have a secure border. You wouldn't allow human trafficking. If you did, you'd be doing something about the fact that fentanyl drug overdoses are the number one killer of kids 18 and younger. Okay, so if you did care about the children, you wouldn't be putting them in failing schools and teaching them personal pronouns rather than the basics. Okay, so spare me your nonsense of like, oh, but the children. No, it's but your special interest backers who basically get this money. They said the same thing about the high-speed rail project. We need high-speed rail so that we can solve climate change. No, you needed high-speed rail so you can get $100 billion when you said it was going to cost $10 billion. $100 billion, $120 billion at last price tag. So you can line the pockets of your special interest campaign donors. The only people that are benefiting from high-speed rail are the grifters in the Sacramento swamp. And I guarantee you, anybody that you're forced to pay higher at the pump, you're not going to get a benefit from that. But the children, we promised to give the money to the children. Slap them. They're liars, cheats, and thieves. They make liars, cheats, and thieves look good. Then we go down here. The California Air Resources Board chair, Lion Randolph, appropriately named person, Lion Randolph. He's lying. It's lying again. All she's doing is lying. Quote, we know to address climate, we need to reduce the use of fossil fuels. So you know what this is all about? Raising the price of gas to inflict pain on you so you drive less. Nothing in the data suggests that increasing the cost of living on Californians is going to force them to wait for the smelly bus, the bus that doesn't work, the bus that takes longer than ever to get to where they need to be, the bus that's not safe because we allow homeless people to just roam around and go crazy on folks. But these people think that you're just going to give up your car and that it's going to be so practical and convenient. No, people are forced to pay the price because they don't have appropriate options. That's like saying, well, if we increase the price of housing, people won't use housing anymore, or they'll decide to shack up together. No, they basically are going to be forced to work longer hours. They're going to go into debt because government can't just simply say, we're just going to inflict pain and you're going to do what we want you to do. It doesn't work. It's illegitimate. Government needs to stop trying to manipulate people into forcing them to do what government thinks they should be doing. We have to save the climate, for God's sakes, Carl. Yeah, as you mismanage wildfires and all of the reductions in CO2 from more energy efficient standards, it's completely blown away by all these mismanaged fires, releasing CO2 into the atmosphere. And everything we're doing to hurt working families, Chinese and Indians, their economy is all on dirty energy. And they're undoing any sort of CO2 emission progress that we're making. And again, I don't want to get into a climate change argument here because I have a better plan on what we deal on the environment. More on that as we progress in the coming weeks and months. Because I believe that Californians should be the best at the environment, protecting the environment. But I don't think that causing working families to go into bankruptcy, increasing their cost of living is the only option. Why is it the only option to solve a problem is you give government your money? Why is the only option to deal with the problem is you get less choice in your life, less convenience at higher costs? You understand what's going on here. It's all about the money. They simply want your money so they can give it to their corrupt backers. And that is what's going on here. If you trace all of the climate change money, if you go after all the Green New Deal, Green New Steel monies, you will find those monies go to the special interest campaign contributors of the very people proclaiming that they are your savior. They're not. They're bank robbers. They're taking your money and giving it to their backers. Of course, Trump is to blame, according to Lion Randolph. Lion Randolph. President Trump is to blame. He's interfering with our climate policies. Your climate policies are bankrupting families. So those are the comments that they made, that we've got to get people off of oil and gas, that it's so important that we manipulate them, that we try to get them to feel pain so that they don't actually do any thing that the government doesn't want them to do. And by the way, take a look here. Not a single conservative is on the California Air Resources Board. Who appoints all these people? You see this. It's 100% Democrats, and they are all environmental wackos. It says, oh, well, we have an agricultural member. This guy is a absolute leftist enviro. I know all of these. Diane Kevorkian, she's from San Diego. She is bat blank crazy. I can say it on YouTube. She's batshit crazy. And she's corrupt. She's absolutely corrupt. She's part of the grift of getting all these. She only exists to get her union backers contracts, no bid contracts. All of these people, corrupt as the day is long and only interested about getting your money. Now let's go to the numbers. How is this going to impact your gas prices? Well, we've got our analysis that's been widely cited now in the media, because our analysis is the only calculation that's out there that's reliable on trying to find the story here, on the actual cost of these new regulations. We launched a campaign to stop the Democrats from giving us a $2 per gallon gas tax in the state of California. Okay, because we've been on this story since last May. All right, here's my story from last May, where this proposal first came out, that the CARB regulations would spike our gas prices to $2, our gas tax in California to $2 per gallon by 2026. Because the state excise tax is 59.6 cents. It's going up. It went up on July 1st to above 62 cents. It's going to be in 2026, probably closer to 65 cents. Then the cap and trade tax is 28 cents. That's the carbon tax that's already applied to your gas. That's going to be probably 40 cents by 2026. But we're going with what we know today, 28 cents. Sales tax is 12 cents. CARB regulation tax, 23 cents today. It's going to go up to 75 cents in 2026. Underground storage cost 2 cents, 18.4 cents for federal. They have yet to figure out what the oil and gas penalty tax is. They're still working on that one. That's coming up next. So $1.43 today, $1.95 by 2026. Remember, I told you that these other numbers here are going to be going up. So we're probably at $2.10 per gallon in state tax here in California. Government levies on your gas price. Take a look at what that means to the price at the pump. When you take a look at statewide, we've got just today, according to AAA, nationally, price of gas is $3.09. In California, $4.51. So it's like $1.50 difference. And it usually is about $1.75 to $2.50. But $1.50 on a 20-gallon tank, filling up every week for a year is $1,560 for the typical driver. Well, most families have two drivers in their household. That's $3,120 at this $1.50 premium between the cost of gas nationally on average and the cost in California. $3,120 is what you're paying more per family with a two-car household, driving and filling up those cars once a week, $3,120. Now that's before you actually earn the money. So this is after tax. So you're really talking about having to earn $4,000 between you and your spouse. $4,000 is the cost of living increase just on gas prices in California. Now, what I want you to do is think about the impacts of the Green New Deal, the Green New Steel, the CARB regulations, because CARB is regulating everything. They're regulating the prices of your electricity, appliances, businesses, anything that has anything to do with any impacts will be, in essence, passed on with regulations. The cost will be passed on with regulatory costs to you. Just a month ago, Transparency Foundation did a study. They do an annual study that shows the cost of living penalty in California. What they do is they compare the average household budget in California for a middle-class family, and they compare rent and health insurance and daycare and electricity and food cost, every element of your budget, a basic budget. And they found that it costs Californian families, the middle-class families, $28,037.28 more than it would cost if they just paid the average of costs across the country. And take a look at some of this stuff. In order to be middle class in California, you have to be 130,000. It's insane. And the cost of living penalty is $28,833.72. Now, if you no, that's the shortfall. That's the total debt that they're going in. This is a family going into debt because of the cost of living in California. So this family is going to be in debt just based on the averages. And that's why so many families are ending up having historically high credit card debt. But take a look down here. Transparency Foundation found $1.47 per gallon higher, 46% higher than the national average. And remember, that's throughout the entire year. At certain points during the year, we do hit $2.50 higher per gallon of gas. Food costs 10% higher, water costs 10%, healthcare 3%, state and local taxes 60% higher, childcare 52%, electricity 101%, double. Car insurance 27%, housing costs, no surprise, 108% for homeowners, 47% for renters. All of these all enact a cost of living penalty of $28,000. And of that, as I just mentioned, it's $3,100 just for the gas. And that means that you have to earn $4,000 as a family to pay your gas penalty from Gavin Newsom and California Democrats. Look, at Reform California, we are leading the fight to change these costs. We don't believe that you should be price gouged by your politicians. Join our fight to repeal the $2 gas tax. We have a whole plan in action, and this story at reformcalifornia.org tells you how to do it, plus chip in a contribution. Share this video. Like and subscribe to this channel, and make sure you share the story with all your friends. They need to learn the truth that the cost of living is going up in California after an election. And we warned you, all because California Democrats refuse to reduce costs for working families. They want to price gouge. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state. Reform California with Carl DeMaio is paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly.